Amrit, welcome to moneyHOP Q&A session. Great to have you over here today. So today we are speaking about IELTS. As you know, any student who wants to go abroad need to crack IELTS before going there, right? So it's the first major hurdle. But I noticed something strange. Like students who know good English, who are very excellent in English, often find it difficult for cracking IELTS. Why is this happening? What's your take on it?
All right, all right. Thank you so much for calling me here on your podcast. I'm very grateful for having this opportunity. So, addressing to your question, I would say IELTS is not only about English. You know, it's more about skillful knowledge. It's more about skills. Students really need to showcase their language proficiency in order to score more. I've seen so many students who are already so overconfident and they just think like we can easily crack IELTS within 15 days. And they always take a crash course. So what happens? They don't get a score because we cannot promise any student just because of the basis of their language that they can really hit 8 plus. Of course, it's possible for 6, 6.5, but not for a score for a student who is aiming more than 8. So for that, a student needs to adhere to all the strategies which are required. They need to fulfill the parameters. If I talk about reading over here, the reading is, it's not like comprehension, just answering the questions from the passage. It is more about time management. A student always thinks that it's just 40 questions. I can easily do. The ones who are having good knowledge of the language. I'm talking about only those students, right? So the thing is, they really need to adhere to the time limit because there are 40 questions and all these 40 questions are of different types. Like a set of questions is from different types. There are MCQs, headings, fill in the blanks. So every question type is having a proper strategy to be followed. So that's why it is always said, don't be so overconfident that you are good at language. You are definitely going to score 8 plus in one go. I'm not saying it's impossible, but yes, following strategies is really important. It's a crucial step to get that 8 back.
So you already mentioned about the reading module, right? And like nowadays, most of the students are spending time on phones. They are watching more reads, and people are reading actually less than the previous years. So how can a student do the reading section well? Because they are under a lot of pressure, right? It is not easy reading the whole passage. So can you suggest some tips for students to crack this reading section efficiently?
Absolutely. So we can't say like they definitely have to go to that reading habit every night or every morning. No, it's not that rigid. There is a proven strategy to be followed before completing that or, appearing for that reading module test. So what's the thing? How I teach my students, I'll tell over here. So what I do is I always tell them to understand the passage carefully first. And how understanding is possible, of course, without reading it is not possible. So what they can do is they can read the title of the passage. It's really important. Sometimes there is no title, no heading is given. So I always suggest them to read those 2, 3 lines from the first paragraph. It will help them clear what the passage is talking about. Now it's time to read the question. And students, what they do, they first read the question and then they come to the passage. How will you answer the question that you don't know the topic? That's the importance of reading the title. Now, second thing is read the question carefully, underline the keywords. And here comes the role of skimming and scanning technique when they have to find those keywords in the passage. So they will apply skimming and scanning. Again, there is a mistake done by students. What they do, they think that by just locating keywords, they can directly find their answer. No, there is a big no. The next step after locating keywords in the passages, they need to understand the meaning of the line. They are thinking where there might be the answer and the question. There is a need to relate the meaning of the passage with the question, and then students can literally finalize their answer. This is the proven strategy, and this has helped a lot of students, especially my students, in scoring 35, 35 plus in reading. And they always have a fear of reading. Students are like, oh, ma'am, I'm definitely not going to attempt reading today. and I help them gradually and gradually they improve.
Now let's talk about the toughest module, writing. Obviously, like writing is a very tough process because not everyone writes every day. So what are the common mistakes students make while they are taking the writing module, and how can they improve and secure a very good score in that?
Okay. So one of the biggest mistakes which students do, that is not plotting. Students don't plot. Plotting over here means jotting down their ideas before writing. That's really important. Students directly start writing. They directly start with introduction, body para 1, body para 2. No, there would be blunders done if you start directly writing. So plotting is the biggest mistake which students, forget to do, like forget to plot. Plotting is very important. Second is introduction and conclusion. Introduction and conclusion should be mapped. If introduction is not matching with the conclusion, there is no purpose of writing the essay. Whatever I'm stating in introduction, if that goes opposite to the conclusion, my whole attempts go in vain. That's the thing. The students write too big conclusion. They add new ideas in conclusion. That's the third mistake they do. We have to help them understand that conclusion is more about concluding what you have already discussed rather than adding new ideas in conclusion. So that's another mistake which they do. And another mistake that students do in writing is they don't understand the question. They don't answer the demand. What the ask is there in the statement. They don't answer that. For example, if the question is, do advantages outweigh disadvantages? So here they have to clearly answer whether there are more advantages to disadvantages or more disadvantages to advantages. Students don't answer this. They end up only mentioning two benefits, two drawbacks. That's it. But where is the answer of the question? Whether there are more benefits to drawbacks or not. They forget and they lose their marks in task response. So I always tell my students, doesn't matter how easy the topic you get, how easy the question is, read the question twice. Even if it is simplest for you and you are quite confident, still read it 2 times or 3 times and then start attempting. Now the question is to how to score more in writing, because yes, it is the toughest module for students, right? There is again, the thing starts with introduction. First impression is the last impression. Students always try to add general statement. If the topic is, let's say, obesity is increasing among children these days, what are the reasons and solutions? Then they will start their introduction, first line of introduction with general statement, like generally, let's talk about obesity. Then they paraphrase the question statement. The problem over here is they forget developing the link between general and paraphrased. So the link is missing. In the starting only they lose their marks. And the general statement is quite optional. If it is optional and you are facing difficulty, you are struggling in writing that, skip that part. Directly come to the paraphrase part, paraphrase the question statement. Now answer here in introduction what they are going to answer in BP1 and BP2. So as per our example, they are supposed to mention reasons and solutions in BP1 and BP2. So I tell my students, rather than writing that memorized statement, I will discuss the reasons and solutions in the upcoming paragraphs, mention the reasons and solutions, what are supposed to be mentioned in BP1 and BP2. So that the reader gets a glimpse what would come next. That's important to score more. It brings clarity to the reader. After that, there is a need to, fulfill all those 4 parameters: task response, grammar, range and accuracy, lexical resource, right? So there is a need to complete all these things. Coherence and cohesion, again, the 4th parameter. Now, there should be a buttery, smooth flow of the reading. So if I'm reading, let's say we have attempted writing, and I'm reading that, I shouldn't have a question mark in my mind. That's the thing. If there is a question mark, okay, let me read it again. That is not a perfect writing. The reader is reading and he is understanding everything. That's the perfect writing. There is a more scope of scoring more than 7. Other than that, there are so many things, in writing, complex compound sentences they have to follow. They need to be careful with the punctuation marks. They need to be careful with connectors. If I talk about connectors, students end up talking about mechanical language, means that memorized, old statements. The best thing, the one best solution is buttery smooth flow I just mentioned, right? Second is they really need to be natural. They need to develop their own pace of writing. That's really important. Students read the writing. So many writings are there on internet. So they go through them and they try to copy that, even if that's not their natural way. You might have podcasted, so many people, right? And every person is having his own pace of speaking. I'm having my own natural way of speaking right now. So that same should be reflected in writing. That is the thing. So these are the ways through which students can score.
Now let's talk about speaking. As you know, like speaking is also very, it creates a lot of anxiety in students. And as we know that speaking is more about confidence. So how can we build confidence when students are doing the speaking text? And can you also tell some common phrases to respond better to the examiner? So can you shed some light on this?
Sure. So speaking is all about practice, practice, practice. Practice makes a man perfect, right? Same applies over here. What students do is they listen the podcast, they listen to the speaking interviews, 8-band interview, 9-band interview on YouTube. But still they don't know the authenticity. Whether that speaking video is really of 9-band or not, really of 8-band or not. That's the first problem. They always need a helper, a tutor who can help them, guide them. So practice is the key over here. They need to first check the authenticity and they need to have like a tutor to help them. That's the thing. Now, for confidence, some students are told by their tutors that they really need to practice in front of mirror. Mirror practicing is quite important for them. But this strategy doesn't work for everyone. If I talk about myself, I have practiced in this way during my preparation time. I ended up looking at my scars on my face, fine lines, dark spots. That was a distractor for me. For females, it could be a big distractor, practicing in front of mirror. So every strategy doesn't work for every other student there. No. So I was talking about, other than this mirror practice, what they can do is they can start recording themselves. When they start listening to their own recorded audio, they'll come to what mistakes they do. And they are going to be more careful the next time. And this is really going to generate the confidence in them. And the being natural thing cannot be, surpassed by any other strategy. Being natural is really important for every student. Speak at a natural pace. Now, another thing which I have seen in so many students, they speak so speedily in English that they think if they're speedy while speaking, they're definitely going to crack 9 on 9 in fluency. No. Because when they're speedy, they are messy from here. In their mind, there is all mess of ideas, due to which they're unable to, speak in a fluent way, speak coherently. They lose their confidence. So again, the biggest step is stay calm from here, speak at a normal pace, whatever speak one is having, that will bring confidence. Third aspect of bringing confidence is think that it's not an interview, it's just a conversation happening between two people. I always tell my students, because if we teach students in this way and we tell them and guide them that just take it as a conversation, they'll stay calm. It will help them to answer questions calmly with a poise. That's important. So yes, all these are the things I think students should be careful. And if I talk about the phrases, there is no specific phrase, and this would again be a memorable thing. They have to cram phrases. Then they will not be natural. I never tell my students that you need to memorize these statements in order to score 6, even if it is 5.5. For some students who have to apply for work permit and all, they sometimes need 5 or 5.5. They just come to me and they ask me, ma'am, just give me a template. I never give a template to any student because it's not only cracking IELTS, it's learning the language meanwhile preparing for the test. And once they're good at the language, this is definitely going to help them later on once they are there in that country. Staying natural, just keep practicing and develop a habit of speaking in English. Let's take an example, one more example. I always help my students understand through many examples. So if you taught me to speak in Spanish and you say a statement in Spanish and I'm trying to imitate that, I will fail 10 times because I'm not in habit of speaking Spanish. My tongue is not in a habit of speaking in that way, rolling, twitching. So there is a need to practice. Even if I know the whole grammar of the language of Spanish, still there is a need to practice to sound natural. So that's the thing. Practice is the key. Yes.
Now, let's talk about listening. So, one common issue that students always face is the accent of the examiner. So, these examiners would be foreigners, right? And like there is German accent, there is like British accent, a lot of kind of accents is there. So, how can students listen effectively in this context? Because missing out words would definitely affect the score of listening module, right? So how can students deal with this? How can they efficiently crack this part?
Sure. I'd love to answer this question. So many students ask me the same. The thing is, and the most enjoyable part over here is start listening to songs. Not only you'll enjoy, you will also develop the understanding of different accents. So I tell my students, start listening to songs first. There is no need of understanding the song. Just listen. If you want now, after 2-3 days, now start reading those, lyrics as well of the song. It will help you. Listen to same song. Select 2-3 songs for next 5 days. Listen to those 3 to 4 songs every day with lyrics. Start singing. Second thing is Netflix. Again, the most chilling way. Not only you'll enjoy watching series and movies, you'll also gain the knowledge of vocabulary. You'll also learn the accent. Why students face struggle in understanding accent is because they have not listened to those words in that accent. They have only listened to their Indian teachers in school, college, speaking in English. They again have Indian accent, right? So the students also get mistaken over here and they think they need to develop the same accent as the examiner. It's a big no. No. Speak naturally. Speak with your own accent. If I ask any Britisher to speak in my mother tongue, he won't be able to in the same accent with which I can. The same applies to us as well in English. So watching Netflix, listening to podcasts, listening to songs, that's the best way of developing the accent. And again, one more thing which students can do is they can start practicing listening module. Because from there, it will help them in listening module as well and in, specifically understanding the accent. Keep on practicing listening again and again, again and again. Keep on solving the sheets. So students are going to get habitual of those accents.
Amrit, you shared a lot of incredible insights. It was such a lot of insights have came out. Like you have break a lot of conventions. Example like the mirror thing. So I have seen a lot of people say like asking one tip they always give is speak in front of the mirror. So you broke that convention, and a lot of good insights came out from this. So one last thing. So the audience would love to know about you. So can you tell about yourself for the audience?
Yeah, sure. So I have more than 5 years of experience in teaching IELTS to the students. And now I'm working as a soft skills trainer. So along with the IELTS, I help my students learn soft skills, which has become the crucial part of the industry nowadays. So I really love them to get that adaptability along with the language knowledge. And I am also certified trainer. I'm CELTA certified. from Cambridge University, of course. So, which gives me an edge to cover the students globally, help them impart my knowledge of the language. So, yes, I'm on this journey imparting language knowledge to the students and helping them gain confidence and get rid of all the rumors they are facing.
So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vishnu.